here. So Sophia, so with this one we've used the mermaid pattern, and we have done a contour cut on the outside of it, which helps it to really pop out against the pink. So I'll show you how to do this. So we'll do a very simple one and then we'll do the contour. So when you're here, you want to click on the text, and that will automatically load up a little box, and it can go down here, which can be a little bit confusing. So I'm going to type in Sophia, and then it moves up here. So it has a bit of a mind of its own. In here, you'll see that it automatically loads up the Cricut fonts, and you'll see that there's a lot of fonts that have a $ beside them. You don't have to pay for Cricut fonts. You can go and you can like either use your own fonts, which will be on your computer, and they'll be listed down here. Or if you want to, you can also go to websites that give you free fonts or fonts that you can buy outright, and then you can use them as many times as you want. For example, the font that we've used for this one here is called Babang. And I'm just going to type it in here and press return. There you go. Yeah, Babang, I just spelled it wrong. So you can see that it loads up here. Now, the thing that you'll want to do with the Cricut is just to understand the whole settings. Down here, you can see there's a zoom box, so you can zoom in, and this is going to be, if I do 200, that makes it 200% bigger. If I do 100, that's the actual size of your kind of design. Now, this probably isn't actually the size, so just be careful. You'll see all your measurements up here. This is all centimeters. If you want to, you can switch it to inches, and that is all accessible up here. So with this one, I can see that this is 8.2 centimeters by 3.241 centimeters. I can make this bigger, and then you can see it's 20 centimeters by 8 or smaller. Okay, so for this kind of thing, you're probably going to be around, I'm pretty sure it was around maybe like 12 or 13, but you can just measure the width of your bottle and also the height. So you want to be careful to make sure that your measurements are correct. So with this, what you could do, if you just wanted to cut this, which is great for a beginner. So before you cut this, you will want to weld it so that all these scripty bits will all merge together. And so welding is basically just doing just that. So it's merging. So you click weld, and then this completely flattens, so all these little curvy bits will get cut correctly. And so now if you click make it, it will cut perfectly. And in here you can move this around to suit your sheet of vinyl. So for example, if you wanted to, if you had like a kind of piece that was already cut out here and you needed to, you could always put that over here. Now, the only thing that you can't do in here is you can't resize it. So if you decided you wanted that to be a little bit smaller or bigger, you would have to click cancel, and then you would have to either make it bigger or smaller in here. Now, let's say we want to get a little bit more fancy, and we want to kind of expand our knowledge. One of the things that you will love to do is to do an offset path. And that's really easy. So do you see this option up here? If you click on that, you'll see that there's a bit of a distance thing. And so you can make it bigger. And I'm just going to cancel that for a second. I'm going to move this over here so that you can see it a bit better. So can you see the line that goes around it? So that's how big that the kind of cut on the outside. So this part here, that is how big that do you want for your layers. Okay, so the thinner it is, the harder it will be to layer on top of each other. But you kind of want to get that in between. So I usually would go with probably around 0.304 of a centimeter is good. So we'll go with this one. And all you have to do is click apply. And that's it. Now it automatically makes 2 different colors. And over here, you can see we've got layers in Design Space. And this is a really good thing to kind of get your head around. It is a bit confusing, but basically the things that are on the top are the things that you will see. The things that are at the bottom. So if you imagine that you had a baking paper and you were, if you ever were tracing something, you would put your sheet and then you might put your baking paper on top and you can trace over it. So that is basically what layering is, except you can have like lots and lots of layers and it can get a little bit confusing. So knowing that whatever is grayed is the part that is picked. And in here, you can also see there's a little eye. And so sometimes that's a very handy trick too. You can turn that eye on and off. And if you want to, so for example, if I wanted to pick this and I wanted to do a different color so that they stood out a little bit more, this is where all your colors are. So your colors are located up in here. And you can see that we've got lots of different colors. This doesn't really mean anything because it depends on what your vinyl is. Especially when you are working with vinyl, these colors here might work differently for other things. But for us, all we're doing is we are just kind of trying to figure out what our different colors are. So I'm just going to go with that. And if you wanted to, you could also change that color to be something like that. Now it's really obvious which one we are kind of referring to when we talk about them. So that is basically, you could cut this now. And if I went to make it, you'll now see that there's 2 mats. So what we would do is we would cut this one first, and then we would go through and we would cut the second one. But if we want to get a little bit more advanced, what we could do is we could highlight this basic one, so the purple part, and we can go down here to a contour. So if you want to, you can hide all contours, and there are all these little bits that kind of get cut off in here. And then you just click close. And now all those little bits won't get cut, which will make your life a lot easier when you are actually cutting this in reality, and you won't have all those extra little bits to have to weed out and deal with. So that's really handy. If we take a step backwards for a little bit and we want to get a little bit more advanced, say we wanted to put on the little love heart here. Where are we? We wanted to put on the love heart here. We can do that. So I'm just going to go here, and you can see up here that you can either delete, we're using your delete keyboard tool, or you can click delete here. Now, if I wanted to, we can get rid of this. So we are going to use a little tool down here that we are going to slice it. And slicing is basically pretty easy. It's like a knife kind of thing. So imagine slicing off something with your normal scalpel knife or something. So what we'll do is we'll zoom in, and I'm going to go here and I'm going to use the shape tool. And I'm going to probably just get a circle. And when you click it, it automatically loads in a very big size. But again, you can just scale it down. And you can zoom in more so you can really get to see exactly what it is that you're working on. And you can just navigate over and around, okay? So now we've got 2 shapes. We've got the circle up here, and you can turn it on and off, and you've got your basic cut. Now, if I just, So if you need to go back, just click here, undo. Okay, and I'm going to zoom out now because I know that is perfect. And I am going to highlight over, and I am going to go, you can only slice 2 things. So if I was to put another thing, say I just did a square, and I'll make that smaller. If I was to put those 3 items, you can see your slice goes away. So you can only do 2 things at a time. So you might run into that because I know I have in the past. So do that one first, slice it. Now, can you see how everything changes here? So what you want to do, what we're basically doing is we're getting rid of the dot, and we're going to be replacing it with a heart. So if you are struggling, I think the best thing to do is turn all these little eyes off. Can you see now? This is perfect. And so what you can do as well is you can just drag these down. Oh, or drag it up. Sometimes it's a bit fiddly. Okay, get that out of the way. Then you can do that and then hold your shift key, that and that. And I am just going to click delete. And they are gone now. So now we're ready. It's a bit naughty sometimes. I'm going to go and do an SVG. Now, what is an SVG? It is a bit confusing, but basically it's just a vector format that you bring in, and it is perfect for the design space. And so the Cricut will know, or Silhouette, or whatever really you use for cutting, it will follow that shape. Okay, so you can create your own versions, but when you're beginning, you can just use our kind of things or any other ones that you find on the internet. So with an SVG, you'll go to upload, and even if you have already uploaded it, that is how you get it. So these are all the ones I've saved before. But I'm just going to go upload. Now you can do two things. You can go to your computer and you can click and drag, or you can go browse and you can go and find where it is. So mine is in download, and I'm going to use the little heart that I've got. And click here, and you can name your files if you like, can be organized. And upload, and I'm going to click that, insert. And now it comes in like this. And I actually got this this heart from a different font that happens to have this as a dot on its eye. So what you could do is, if you do find things like that, you can grab fonts and kind of like what I just did here, where you can slice it. You could slice that heart off and then use that. So that's another really clever thing that people do like to do. So you can see that you can make it as big or as small as you like. And you can see that now we have our two colors again. And that's fine if you want to have the heart in a different like pattern or, whatever. But if I wanted to do with this example here again, I wanted it all to be the same rainbow mermaid. I'm going to basically merge these two together. So again, you highlight over the whole thing, or you can select these by holding shift, and you can click weld. And that now merges that all together. So when I click make it, you can see it's perfect. Okay, only one mat. So again, we're going to show you how to do offset. So here, we're going to whiz through this really quickly. I'm just going to do like maybe, we'll probably go to here. So you can kind of keep an eye on things. So I would look at, say if I did that, you've kind of got this kind of weird edge thing happening here. That's probably, and this thing here. So I would probably go a tiny bit bigger so that you can get the best cut that you can. That's getting pretty good here. So I'm going to click apply. And again, we'll go to that contour, and I'm just going to hide all contours. And click close, and that is lovely. That's perfect. So again, we've got two different colors, and the colors doesn't matter at all, because when you make it, you decide if you want to have your whatever color for your background and whatever color for your front. And that is a layered project, and that's it. Super easy. So you can do that with any font. You can choose all sorts of different fonts. Whatever you like is perfect. So there you have found out how to use the offset tool. You've learned how to use the weld tool, the slice tool. The attach tool is another good one. So if you wanted to, say, do this and put a box around it so it's easier for your reading, what you could do is you can do a square, and you can, in here, you can unlock this, and you can make it, you can just click and drag it, and then you might get a bit like, oh no, I can't see my design, where is it? Remember, you got all your layers. So you can drag that down. Will it drag? Yeah, there we go. And you can make it bigger. You can also see the measurements here. And if you are on a very small screen, I'm going to drag it here, and you see that all your measurements get hidden. All your layers are still there, but all your measurements are hidden, okay? So if I was to select that and, sorry, there we go, and click here, now you can see this is where all your measurements are. So if you knew that you had a particular thing, you can either go up and down like this, or you can also type in, say, 5. And remember, it's all in centimeters. So if you do want to do like 5.5 centimeters, you would just do 5.5, press enter, and then that changes. It is, of course, much harder to design when you have a smaller screen. So if you are able to work on a laptop or a bigger computer, it is going to make your life a lot easier. But you can completely do anything you really want to. It just depends on probably having more patience and maybe just doing a bit more simpler designs. So if I was to create a weeding box around this, so that basically just means instead of me kind of cutting out the vinyl at the end, I'm just putting a kind of a rectangle around it so I can weed out this excess bit. It just makes life a lot easier. So you would basically do that, and you would get, because we're going to be having Sophia as a separate thing, you would just move that down there. And another good one is if you control click, you can copy and paste it. Copy and paste. And the shortcut for that, because I love my shortcuts, is Control C and Control V. So again, I'm going to go here. So again, you can move it over here, or you can click send to back. Now you might see that we're kind of a bit off a line. Doesn't really matter. But what you could do, you can of course always just click and drag. But one of the tools I do love is the align tool. So here you can click center, and that's going to move it so that I'll show you. It moves it so it's perfectly center. So this is vertically and horizontally in line with each other. And can you see that it goes back to being locked? So I like to unlock. I generally don't like to play with changing proportions when you are dealing with typography, like fonts. But when you're dealing with shapes, like a rectangle or a square, that's where it's very handy to be able to just click and drag it. And again, I can highlight over this, and you can align center. Okay, so there's a few different versions. Now, if I went to click make it, you can see that we've got 3 different mats, but we don't want that. We want these to be on these ones, okay? So if I click cancel, and get used to clicking make it. It's not a big deal. You can always cancel it. So I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to go attach. And you can see that it is, it's hard to see it. It is actually there. So if I was to change that color to be, say, yellow, and let me just do this one too. Do that and attach it. And sometimes this happens. Do you see how you can't see the lines? So sometimes if that happens, just click this and then change it to that. And do you see now it's fixed? Cricut is a wonderful machine, but sometimes it has a lot of quirks. So it's about kind of getting used to it. And you can see that we do have 2 attached things so that they are actually attached. And when we click make it, you can see we now have 2 sheets. So again, remember, you can move this to be wherever you like, and that to be wherever you like. And it doesn't matter. Like if your background one is going to have to be turned around and put over here, But this one, you've actually got a brand new sheet of it, or it's down here or something. That's fine. It doesn't matter. You just put it in, cut it, make sure that whatever your piece of vinyl is on your board matches with the corresponding of what you have laid out here. And then you can click continue and cut. And that's it. So that is all you really need to do for creating quite a complex thing. Using these kind of methods makes it super easy for you to do a whole bunch of stuff just using Design Space and some of the very basic things that we can give you, or even more complicated SVGs. Very, very easy.